What's good, Wahoo Nation? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to this channel, guys, be sure to subscribe and also hit the thumbs up down below on this video. So, for this video today, I am giving out my wish list of coaches who I think would be a great candidate to become the next head basketball coach for UVA men's basketball. All right, so lots happened this season, with Tony Bennett retiring and, Ron Sanchez becoming the interim head coach. And, we're midway through the season now. We're in mid-January. We're at the meat and potatoes of ACC play, and things just have not worked out. I mean, we're right at 500, not in ACC play overall, and we haven't been this bad since Dave Leto. And so, Ron Sanchez, I just do not think is the guy for this team going forward. Keep in mind he is an interim coach, and so I think I've said this before. We need to, try to make the most of this season, and then come next year, once this season is over, just start with a clean slate and start completely over from scratch. And so that means, don't hire any coaches that were part of the Tony Bennett coaching tree. And as I said before, and I'll say it again, I love Tony Bennett. He's the best coach that UVA as a whole, the university as a whole, has ever had. Not just in basketball, any sport. And he always will be. He is the GOAT of coaches at the University of Virginia. Having said all that, it's time to move on. All right, it's time to turn the page and move on to the next chapter for this program. And so what I'm doing in this video is giving out my top candidates of who I would like to see us at least go after and possibly hire to be the next head coach at UVA. Now, I know some of them might be a bit out there, and I can understand why, but there's really three that stand out the most to me, and I'll get to those later in this video. So, as I said, I don't think we should hire somebody from the Tony Bennett coaching tree, and so that means Ron Sanchez should not be the head coach. Jason Williford, I don't think would be a good head coach, and Ritchie McKay. Now, Ritchie McKay, he is the current head coach at Liberty, but he was also an assistant under Tony for many years at UVA before he went back to Liberty. And while he's done well, I just don't think he's the guy either. So those three, I don't want any part of. Some other big names I think would be good candidates, but I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening. I don't see them coming to UVA, but you never know. One of which is Rick Carlisle. So, Rick Carlisle, he is currently the head coach of the Indiana Pacers, and he's had some pretty decent years there. He also was the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks and was very successful there, won an NBA championship with them. But the biggest thing about Rick Carlisle, he's a UVA alum. He played for UVA back in the day, and so I think he'd be a great candidate. I don't think it's going to happen, though. Another guy who I think would be a good pick is Wes Miller, the current head coach at Cincinnati. He's also the former head coach at UNC Greensboro, and he's climbing the ladder, and so that's what you want. Could we possibly reach into the Power Four and snag a coach out of one of those schools, or do we go to the mid-major level? So that's something to keep in mind. I don't think Wes Miller would be a bad candidate either. And then one last honorable mention is going to be Mark Beington, the current head coach at Vanderbilt. Now, the problem with that is that he's in his first year at Vandy, and I doubt if he would leave Vandy after 1 year. He used to be the head coach at James Madison, or JMU, as we like to call it here in the Commonwealth. Was very successful at JMU, and so I think that he would be a great candidate. Now, had Tony retired 1 year earlier and we easily could have snagged up Mark Beington, but it just wasn't to be. There's some other coaches I think that would be good candidates. I wouldn't mind seeing us go after. Some names that come to mind, like Chris Beard. He's currently the head coach at Ole Miss, the former Texas and Texas Tech head coach. Remember, he was the head coach of Texas Tech when we beat them in the national championship a few years ago. Chris Jans, the current head coach at Mississippi State, and he was also at New Mexico State as well. He's done a very good job of turning Mississippi State around. I think he would be a great candidate. I think the same can be said for Mike White. He's currently the head coach at Georgia. He also used to be at Florida, and he's turned Georgia around. And when you think of Georgia, you don't think of basketball. You think of football. Georgia is a football school. Well, he's done a very good job of turning them around. They're having a very good year this year. And so Mike White, I think, would be a very good candidate also. Another good guy, another candidate I'd like to see us go after is TJ Otzelberger. He's currently the head coach at Iowa State, has been very successful with them, used to be at UNLV and South Dakota State, multiple tournament appearances. I think that he would be a great candidate. And I think the same can be said for Ed Cooley, the former Providence coach, and he's at Georgetown now. And he has been very successful in his coaching career. Georgetown up in Washington, D.C., that's not too far from Charlottesville. And so I think Ed Cooley would be a good pick. But those are my honorable mentions. Those are coaches who I would love to see us go after. I think would be good candidates, but the chances are kind of slim. You know what I'm saying? Now, there's 3 coaches to me that stand out. I think are in the top. These are my top 3 candidates of who I think we should go after. Number 3 is Bucky McMillan. Bucky McMillan is the head coach at Samford. He's a young coach, and with this day and age, with NIL, transfer portal, you need somebody that can relate and somebody that can handle that type of stuff. You know what I mean? And so Bucky McMillan has been very successful at Samford, and sooner or later he's going to get a Power 4 coaching job. It's just it's not a matter of if, but when. He's going to be a Power 4 coach somewhere, and I think he'd be a great addition to us. And then number 2 on my list. Now I know I'm going to catch some flack for this, and I know that this will be an unpopular opinion, and I can understand why it would be an unpopular opinion. But Ryan Odom. Ryan Odom is the current head coach at VCU. He's in his second year there. He was at Utah State also, but he also was the head coach of UMBC, and he was the head coach of that UMBC team that infamously beat us in 2018 in the NCAA tournament. And I like Ryan Odom. Look, I know some fans are going to have some issues. He was the head coach of that UMBC team that beat us. Look, guys, that's history, okay? That was 7 years ago. We all, at least I hope, we all have moved on from that. We redeemed ourselves, okay? Ryan Odom, he's a good coach. And, he grew up around this team. His father, Dave Odom, the former Wake Forest head coach and also the former South Carolina coach, was an assistant at Virginia under Terry Holland back in those days. So, Ryan Odom is very familiar with this program and its culture and its history. And so I think Ryan Odom, I would be 100% on board with Ryan Odom as our next coach. But there's one guy that stands out above the rest, and I think you all know who I'm talking about, and that is Shaka Smart. So Shaka Smart is currently the head coach at Marquette. He also was the former coach at Texas and at VCU. Remember, he took VCU to the Final Four in 2011. And so had some good years at Texas also. And so far in his, I think, 3rd or 4th year, I can't remember offhand, at Marquette, he's been very good there as well. And I think this absolutely would be a home run hire. I think Shaka Smart without a question, would be a fantastic ball coach for this Virginia Cavaliers team. And so there you have it, guys. That is who I think, that is my wish list, my coaching wish list for the University of Virginia Men's Basketball Club. So as always, guys, leave it down below in the comments section. I'm sure some of y'all are going to disagree with me. Some of y'all might agree with me. Some of y'all might think I'm just flat out nuts, okay? But, that's just my opinion, and everyone's entitled to it, just like you're entitled to your opinion also. And so, but anyways, leave it down below in the comments section. Who would you like to see us go after to be our next head coach? Thank you all, guys, so much for watching. As always, go Hoos. See you next time.